Everyone told you it takes 21 days to build a habit. Clean, simple, memorizable. It's also wrong. A 2010 study tracked real people forming real habits and found that the same behavior took anywhere from 18 days to 254 days, depending on the person. That's a 13-fold difference. Same habit, completely different humans. So if the timeline is that unpredictable, what actually determines whether a habit sticks or quietly dies by week 2? The answer isn't willpower, it's wiring. Here's what nobody tells you about habits. You're fighting the wrong battle. Most people treat habit formation like a motivation problem. They watch one more video, build one more morning routine spreadsheet, write the goal on a sticky note, and hope that this time the feeling sticks long enough to become automatic. But motivation is a weather system. It shifts daily. It's unreliable on bad sleep, during high stress, after a difficult conversation. And if your habit only runs when you feel like it, it isn't a habit, it's a preference. Research tells us that up to 70% of our waking behavior is automatic, running beneath the surface of conscious thought, executed without deliberate decision-making. That means the majority of who you are day to day isn't the version of you that sets intentions at midnight. It's the version of you operating on neural autopilot at 7 a.m. The problem is that most habit advice targets your conscious mind, your goals, your values, your reasons why. But habits don't live in your prefrontal cortex. They live deeper, in structures that don't respond to pep talks. If you want to understand why certain habits become effortless and others feel like pushing a boulder uphill, you need to understand what's actually happening inside the brain when a behavior becomes automatic, and it's not what most people think. Let's start with memory, because there are two completely different types, and most habit advice confuses them. Declarative memory is your recall of facts and events, what you had for breakfast, your first day at a new job, the name of the street you grew up on. It's the kind of memory you can consciously access and describe. Procedural memory is entirely different. It's the encoded sequence of actions required to produce an outcome. How to ride a bike, how to type without looking at the keys, how to back a car into a narrow space. You can't always explain procedural memory in words, but your body executes it almost without you. Here's the key insight. Habits are procedural, not declarative, which means thinking about why you want a habit does almost nothing to make it stick. What matters is encoding the exact sequence of actions, step by step, until the brain can run that sequence on low power. There's a practical exercise that comes directly from this research. Before attempting a new habit, take 60 seconds to mentally walk through every discrete action required to execute it, in order. Not the outcome, not how you'll feel afterward, the steps. If your habit is a morning run, visualize lacing your shoes, opening the door, hitting the sidewalk, the first quarter mile. Research shows that a single session of this kind of sequential mental rehearsal significantly increases the likelihood of follow-through, not just once, but across the weeks that follow. Now here's where it gets more interesting. Deep inside the brain, beneath the cortex, sits a cluster of structures called the basal ganglia. These circuits have one primary job: deciding what you do and what you don't do. Neuroscientists call these the go and no-go pathways, circuits that either launch behavior or suppress it. Most people have an imbalance. Some people have highly active go pathways. They start easily but struggle to stop. Others have strong no-go circuits. They're disciplined about avoidance but have difficulty initiating. Very few people have a natural equilibrium. Understanding which way you lean explains a lot about why certain habits feel easy and others feel like pushing a boulder uphill. But here's the mechanism that controls whether any habit becomes truly automatic: task bracketing. Task bracketing refers to a specific function within the basal ganglia, the neural marking of what happens just before a habit begins and just after it ends. Think of it as the brain placing a timestamp at the entry and exit points of a behavior. Over time, those timestamps become triggers. The context before the habit fires the sequence. The sense of completion after cements the pattern. This is why brushing your teeth happens even when you're exhausted, distracted, or running late.
The task brackets are so deeply encoded that the behavior is nearly reflexive. The start context fires, you're standing at the bathroom sink, and the sequence runs almost without you. The goal isn't to build discipline, it's to build brackets. Here's how that works in practice. Say you're trying to make a mid-morning workout consistent. Most people focus entirely on the workout itself, the sets, the duration, the effort. But the brackets matter more. What happens 5 minutes before you leave? What do you do immediately after you return? Deliberately designing those entry and exit rituals and repeating them with the same consistency as the workout is what trains the basal ganglia to treat the whole block as automatic. Your nervous system doesn't just learn behaviors, it learns the containers around behaviors. Build the container, and the behavior inside it becomes significantly easier to sustain.
Protocol 1. Sequential visualization before you begin. When starting any new habit, spend 60 seconds running through the exact sequence of steps required, in order with specificity. Not, "I'll go to the gym." Instead, wake up, drink water, put on shoes, drive the familiar route, walk through the entrance, start with a 5-minute warm-up. The more granular, the better. Do this once the night before and once immediately before executing. This single mental rehearsal has been shown to substantially increase follow-through rates by preloading the procedural memory pathway before the behavior is attempted. Protocol 2. Design your brackets, not just your habit. Identify a consistent cue that will always precede your target habit, ideally something already automatic in your day. A cup of coffee, sitting at your desk, ending a meeting. Then attach a brief specific action to mark the start of your habit window. Do the same on exit. Create a short closing ritual that signals completion. These brackets are the actual unit the basal ganglia learns. Once encoded, they dramatically reduce the friction of initiation and make the habit far more resistant to disruption from poor sleep, stress, or low motivation. Protocol 3. Interrupt bad habits with immediate replacement. Here's a counterintuitive insight from neuroscience. The moment right after a bad habit fires is one of the highest leverage windows for rewiring it. The neural circuits that generated the unwanted behavior are still active, warm in a sense. If you immediately pivot to a different positive behavior in that same window, you begin linking the two in sequence. Over repetition, this creates a competing association that weakens the original pattern. Concretely, if you reflexively check your phone when you meant to do focused work, don't just put it down and feel guilty. Instead, immediately transition to a short, defined positive action. A 2-minute breathing exercise, a glass of water, a single language flashcard. You're not eliminating the bad habit through force. You're gradually outcompeting it by chaining a good behavior directly to its tail. Protocol 4. Weight your reward toward the brackets. Most people reward themselves for completing a habit, which is correct, but research suggests that extending positive self-evaluation to the onset and offset of the habit, not just the performance itself, accelerates automaticity. Acknowledge the moment you start. Acknowledge the moment you finish. The basal ganglia learns from contrast. Give it clean, emotionally distinct markers at both ends, and it encodes the bracket faster. We started by tearing down a myth that habits are built on a fixed timeline through sheer repetition and willpower. What the neuroscience actually shows is cleaner and more empowering than that. Habits are structural. They're encoded in circuits that respond to sequence, context, and contrast, not motivation, not mood, not the quality of your intentions on a Tuesday morning. The 254-day outlier in that study wasn't failing because they were weak. They were using the wrong mechanism. They were trying to install a procedural program through declarative effort, like trying to learn to swim by reading a book about buoyancy. Your habits don't need better motivation, they need better architecture. Design the sequence, build the brackets, interrupt the loop at its most vulnerable moment, and reward the container, not just what's inside it.
The people whose habits look effortless from the outside aren't running on superior willpower. They've just, usually accidentally, built the right neural scaffolding. Now you can do it on purpose.